Welcome to Fuzzy Butts and Friends. Well, as much as it drives Fuzzy Butts all over this place absolutely crazy when they hear me say it, I am the host of this show, Yer Big Dog, Luke Robinson, and look who's back here again. It's Ginger Morgan. She's the co-producer and our co-host, and she's also the executive director of the Puppy Up Foundation. Ginger, how are you?
I am doing well. I know I like to talk about the weather a lot, but it is still chilly in Memphis now, so hence the fleece. But I'm really excited to catch up with our guest today.
It is indeed been a dreary, cold weather here in Memphis. We had a little bit of spring, got my fuzzy butts out for a bit. But yes, it is good. This is an exciting episode. It's kind of a first for us if you think about it, Ginger. We have two guests on Fuzzy Butts and Friends. They are friends of ours. They help volunteer and helped out the Puppy Up Foundation for some time, many, many years. And so I think this is the first time we've had actually truly friends from the Puppy Up Foundation on the show. Is that right, Ginger?
It is. And not only that, but they started Friends on the day that we actually started Puppy Up back in 2010.
Well, there's a lot of history that I hope to get to. We have lots to talk about, and they're also of the Great Pyrenees sort. So we're going to be talking about that. So let me welcome our two guests for this show. We've got Rhondda and Owen Atlas. How are you guys? Welcome to Fuzzy Butts and Friends.
Thank you. We're so excited to be here. This is exciting.
Yeah, thank you for letting us join this. Yeah.
Well, it's good to see you. I gotta say, Owen, you have grown quite a bit since I saw you last, and we're gonna get to all the exciting things that you're doing in your life. It's amazing what you've got going on. But we like to start off our show, since it is Fuzzy Butts and Friends, with the Fuzzy Butts. So tell us, guys, what Fuzzy Butts do you have right now? Who are your kids right now?
We've got Star, who is going to be 10, and she is the grandniece of my very first Pyrenees that I had like 17 years ago. Twinkle, you met Twinkle. She was the very assertive female because Luke stayed with us with Hudson and Indy. Is that what you had at that time?
That was the summer of Murphy tour, so it was Hudson and Indiana.
Yeah, and we had Twinkle and Jackson at that time. Jackson just passed last year. So we've got Star, she's 10, and we've got Luna, she's 5. Mm-hmm. And when Jackson passed last year, we were staying in LA for Owen's career, and he actually found a Pyrenees in a rescue in a really bad part of downtown LA. And he said, Mom, can we go? And we went and we looked at it, and I said, I just don't know. And they did not do out-of-state adoptions because we live in Nevada, but they were getting so many crazy people in there wanting Pyrenees that they finally said, listen, you're an expert. You can have them even if you take them over the state line. And Owen said, Mom, we got to rescue this dog. We can't let him go to somebody who couldn't take care of that dog. So now we have Zeus, and Zeus is, how old is he? 15 months?
I'd say 15 months. Yeah.
Well, good for you, Owen.
Upstage, tear everything up.
That's awesome that you're carrying in the family tradition of saving and rescuing Pyrenees, and where you're going to be a friend of the Fuzzy Butts. It sounds like for your lifetime. So good for you. Well,
have you all only had Great Pyrenees?
He's only had Great Pyrenees. We've had 7. As a small child, we had 3 or 4 Great Danes, Rottweilers, and Doberman Pinschers. But once I got my first Pyrenees 17 years ago, that's all we've had.
Yeah, my entire lifetime I've grown up with Great Pyrenees. So.
Well, I think that's the reason we met you.
Yes, he was 2 years old, and it was on the day that Luke had completed the Puppy Up, the 2-year, 2,000-mile, I think it was, walk, and he saw Hudson and Murphy on the stage, and we were on vacation, and he thought they were our dogs, Twinkle and Ace. Ace was the first one we ever lost to cancer. So he ran up. I think you were being interviewed by the news or something, and he thought they were his dogs, and I've got a really cute picture of that I'll have to share.
Gosh, I wish we would have. I wish our co-producer would have asked you to get the pictures of our that you had from our history. But anyway,
so
she's been sick. You got to get those to me. Actually, if you can get those to me, I'll post them in the show notes or somehow link to them.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if I've ever seen that photograph.
I
And
have him with Hudson and Murphy. Yeah.
wow, so
I
that
don't
was
know that I have either.
Yeah.
Really?
I have him with both. I just showed it to him today to kind of spark his memory of the day that we met. And then he remembers when he was a little bit older when you came and stayed with us with Hudson and Indy. So with Indiana. Yeah.
so this was in Boston, the final mile in Boston.
Yeah.
Wow, so just by happenstance, our paths intersected. Owen, age 2, saw Hudson and Murphy, thought they were his kids. He ran up, and I was doing something. I'm sure I was yapping about something, and then that's how we connected. And you've been with us ever since. Wow, what a fantastic story! Wow.
And I remember seeing a stray child running instead of the stray dog, and I'm like, he has to belong to somebody.
We were in Boston Common. I think we had just done the swan boats, and he just started running.
That's right. We the final mile, which ended up, Ginger, I think it ended up being 2.5 miles. The final mile of Boston was from Back Bay Fens to the Boston Common. So we walked right through Public Garden. That's where they have the swans. Man, that's amazing. That was a wonderful. We had like, I don't know, 400, 500 people and like a long procession of dogs. And it was an unusually hot day, I think, for that time of the year.
It was.
In Boston, and but it was a good day.
It was strange for us because his dad and I kept saying, at that time, Pyrenees weren't as well known unless you had some sort of farm or cattle ranch. And we said, that's weird. There's a Pyrenees. That's weird. There's another Pyrenees. That's weird. And they weren't yours yet, but people with Pyrenees kept walking by, and we thought, and his dad is originally from Boston. So it wasn't in a special, Pyrenees area, but we kept seeing, and we never really see them in public. And when we do, we're really strange. We always run up to the owners because that's how Pyrenees owners are. And they're like, well, I have a Pyrenees too. And we just kept seeing them, and all of a sudden he side-eyed you and saw you on the stage and ran. Those are my dogs.
That is so cool. That's such a wonderful story. Yes, there are not a lot of Pyrenees in Boston, and my theory on that is because Pyrenees are nice and sweet and massholes not so much. That's my theory. And we just lost the couple of people from Boston listening. I'm kidding, of course. I love Boston. I moved there. It's so much a part of my history because I moved there in 2000 and boy, I have to remember this, 2004. I think that's right, 2003, and wasn't even there 6 months. And my first Pyrenees, Malcolm, started limping, and I was in Waltham, Mass, and took him to a vet there, and the vet took a look at the X-ray, the radiograph, and just said, "Yep, 99% certain it's bone cancer." And I still remember that day with perfect clarity. I was just 2004. I was like, I didn't even know dogs got cancer. And that changed the course of my life. And I love people in Boston, but they're characters. And you're right, is that Pyrenees really have that. There's something about Pyrenees and other breeds as well, of course. There's a uniqueness to them. I think there's an allure that just draws people to them. I believe personally, but then again, I'm biased.
Us too.
Well, so let's start with that. What is it about Pyrenees? Start with Owen. Tell us about why you love Pyrenees so much, why the breed speaks to you.
Well, they have certain characteristics that like I've been around like a lot of dogs in my life, but I just can't find those like certain ones in like other dogs. And they're like really funny sometimes. Like they can be like Twinkle, like very assertive and like dominant, but they have this certain personality where they just don't listen. They do what they want, but they're also really like calm and nice. Like if you tell them to do something, they wait a moment and then they do it. So it's like really funny how they do it. They're great dogs. They do listen and like they care. They're really loving. Like they love their people. You get this certain connection with them. And I know it happens with all dogs, but Great Pyrenees just had our eyes and our hearts too.
Independent.
Yes. Now in Texas, we don't say that they're independent. We call them stubborn sumbitches. I'm sorry. This is a kid show. We make this kid friendly, but I think that's okay. Ginger, what's the ruling on that? It's a Texas
You're
colloquialism.
borderline. You're
All right,
borderline.
well, Texas colloquialism, and I say that, of course, with all kidding aside, because I'm on my 5th Pyrenees, and my next one's going to be a Dachshund. That's going to happen. But with my Pyrenees, I will always have Pyrenees in my life. I'm certain of that. Oh, and I love what you said and the way you said it. They kind of wait a minute before when you say, "Hey, can you do this? Would you mind, Twinkle? Would you mind doing this?" They just stop for a second and think and go, and then they'll do it, right? And it's almost like they know they're going to do it. See, they're actually a very smart breed. Even Grayson, my 3-legged Pyrenees, which on the surface you think he's probably as smart as a potted plant, but there's a lot of intelligence there. So I think Pyrenees, they know they're going to do what you ask them to do, right? They're going to do it. They know they're going to do it because they love you, but they don't want to give you that. They just want to wait a second and they create the suspense and then okay.
Right, so it's like on their own terms almost. Yeah.
On their own.
Exactly. They have to think that it was their idea to do whatever. So one of the funny thing with Luke's dog, Indiana, he has some mobility issues. So I set up this little exercise course for him, so it'll help him with his core muscles and everything. And if I'm out there to get him to do it, he kind of looks at me like, But if I'm in the house and I look out, I see him doing his exercises. It's the funniest thing. Or if he knows that I have a treat in my hand, he's food motivated. So then he'll do his exercises. But there are 3 of them set up, and sometimes he'll only do 1 or 2. But if you watch him on his own, he'll do all 3 of them. He's so funny.
Yeah, I've got this saying now. It's just I have so many funny things and funny nicknames, and I think I finally arrived at the one that makes the most sense, at least with my experience with Pyrenees. For some reason, I don't know, maybe it's my personality. I didn't get Great Pyrenees. I got the ungrateful Pyrenees. That's what I got in my life. But it's because of my personality. I'm stubborn. I'm very independent. And I don't listen. Ginger can certainly confirm that about 1,000 times over. And so I think the first Pyrenees I got, Malcolm, was with a wonderful woman, still friends with. And I thought we were together for a while, but it didn't work out. And I always thought that she gave me Pyrenees just to teach me a lesson. I realized later in life that she was like, "Okay, you're hard to live with. You're a stubborn dude. So here's a Pyrenees for you." So, but
I originally, when I met Luke and Hudson and Murphy, I thought the dogs had just soaked up his personality because they were so stubborn. I'm like, why do you have to be so much like your dad? And then I've started reading about them. I'm like, oh no, he just picked the perfect dog for him. That's all.
Something we said made Owen's Star Wars robot turn on. So I think you should go because otherwise, I don't know if you can hear the robot in the background. I don't know what happened. Maybe it's agreeing with us. I'll tell you, when I took my first Pyrenees to get the Canine Good Citizen certificate, the trainer came up to me and asked me, "Why are you saying please and thank you to her?" And just like, I don't know. That's just how I talk to her. She won't do it any other way. So he was really kind of intrigued when everyone else in the class would just take the dog for a walk or do whatever the command was. And I would say, "Please, all right, please, can you do this, Twinkle?" And he was laughing. But she was the only Pyrenees in the class. There was a Kuvas, a Hungarian Kuvas, which is similar, but it was much more obedient. And one thing she wasn't was obedient, but the thing she was loving and protective of our family.
Yeah, there's a trade-off. They can fiercely protect you, but they're not going to do anything that you ask them to for the most part.
No, they're just not. They're meant to be on their own, unsupervised in a field. Or the first time we saw Pyrenees that I saw when I was in France and I was at Versailles, and then Marie Antoinette had the Petit Palace because she didn't really live in Versailles with the king. She had her own deal going on. And I saw dogs that were big enough to guard a big full-size pig. And I thought, what is that dog? It's gorgeous, and it's guarding these big pigs, and it ended up being the first time I saw a Great Pyrenees. And then of course, when I got home from France, I absolutely had to have a Great Pyrenees after.
Were you the Pyrenees you saw in France? Was it bigger? How did it compare to the ones that you see over here in the United States?
I feel like it was really similar, but from what I've read, the French ones are kind of taller and thinner, and one of mine is taller and thinner, and she looks, I think from what I've seen old photos of, she looks French, and then the big chunky one is my one that looks more American, which if I remember the history correctly, I think it was a woman from Boston that first brought Pyrenees to the US.
You may be correct. Actually, I think you are correct because I did when I first got mine, and I think subsequent to that, I've read a couple of books about and delved into history because I was fascinated about because when you look at the Pyrenees and you connect with the Pyrenees, I feel like you're just you can sense the ancient wisdom. You can sense their age, and they've been around for thousands and thousands of years. And as a matter of fact, we just did a podcast, Ginger and I did, with a woman that is an expert on livestock guardian dogs, and she brought a Pyrenees, or her first Pyrenees in the United States was in the 70s, and she said she was one of the first ones because when she got her first Pyrenees, there just weren't a lot of there weren't any of the groups, there weren't any of there wasn't the club, of course, the AKC club or anything like that. And I think it's what she's turned trader though, Ginger. What does she have now? She did.
Oh, I had not even heard of it. I can't even tell you the name of it. It was
it's like it's related to an Anatole. It's like a Turkish guard dog.
Yeah.
Congo, is that right?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. I think it
Congo,
starts with a K, yeah.
Yeah, but she still has sheep and she still has a working farm, but it was fascinating to talk with her. I think we talked for 30, you guys have to listen to the episode. Got to get a little plug in there. But I think we talked for probably 20, 30 minutes on Pyrenees alone. It was so fascinating. Her many years with Pyrenees, and more importantly, it was fascinating to talk about their personality and how they are with livestock and how effective they are guarding. And what Ginger was saying a few minutes ago is very true. And I'd love to hear stories from you, Owen and Rhonda, about, that nature taught Pyrenees to guard. That's what they do. That's their job in life. And I don't know about you, but anytime I take my Pyrenees to a farm or they get near like farm animals, they have this look on their face like, I should be doing something. I know I should be doing something. I just don't know what I should do. But what happens is when you take a Pyrenees from the outside, bringing them indoors, that same instinct, that same ancient instinct still exists, and so they'll resource guard in your house, and that at times causes some problems. How about you guys? Have you had the same experience with resource guarding with your peers?
We haven't had any resource guarding with the first 6, but interestingly enough, the rescue, and it could be maybe there was a food shortage or something like that. He's been hiding bones and then later taking them out and taunting his older sisters. And we've had a couple of arguments since our peers have always kind of worked it out, the pecking order. When Twinkle was the boss, she was the boss. And then when she finally passed, up until her last day, she had 3 types of cancer when she passed, and she still lived to 13, and she couldn't almost bark, and she was still barking at coyotes, and she finally handed it over to her niece, Star, who is our oldest one now. So they've always just kind of argued between them and figured out who's the alpha, but nothing serious. But the Zeus, and he's not our first male. I only keep 1 male at a time, though. I usually have 2 females and 1 male. He is resource guarding, so we are trying to break him. I've always like when I feed them, when they're babies, I always stick my fingers in their food and tell them that I'm the one that gives the food, and you need to listen to me. And I take the food away from them, and then I put it back down. And the same with Bones. But he's been a little sneaky lately with his Bones, right? Yeah. So that's been kind of different for us, but we do notice they like, they're livestock guardians. It's natural. So when we have people stay with us They're happier when there's more people in the home. When our guests leave, and this even happened when you stayed with us, Luke, when our guests leave, it's kind of like they go into a little depression for the first, like day. They kind of just lay around moping. They like having more people and things to do, people to guard. They even are fine with Owen's snake.
Yeah,
They'll lay down outside the cage. You wouldn't think
What kind of snake do you have?
it's a ball python. Yeah.
Oh my God, I had a ball python when I was in high school as well. My brother killed it. He took it to a party and it got out and went up on the AC duct of his car, and he killed it. But fascinating. Reptiles are so fascinating, aren't they?
They are, yeah, and it's also beautiful too. It's yellow and black, nice patterns. It's awesome.
I had a tarantula. You gotten into spiders yet? Or
he saved
Always.
one. We were driving home from the stable and there was one in the middle of the street and I didn't want to run it over. And I said, other people won't care. And he's like, I got you, Mom. And he got it out of the road,
So that video is still on my YouTube.
Yeah, we have a video of that on the YouTube. He did save the tarantula, but we do. He has another fuzzy butt. We both have horses. He ended up getting a very interesting horse. It's white, so it kind of looks like the Piers, and it's an Icelandic horse, which they only started importing in this country. They've only allowed it, for a few years, and it's a shorter, stockier, almost looking like a tiny draft horse. But the Vikings only had one word for horse, so probably it meant pony. But that's what they have in Iceland, with all the big hair and stuff. So he's got one of those, and our Piers, Luna particularly, has a love affair with my horse. So the first time I wanted to introduce the Pier to the horse, I'm tying her up next to his stall and I'm trying to do this, the right way. So she was born on a farm. I just didn't think she remembered. And I'm trying to make sure no one, gets hurt or anything. I turning my back to grab some piece of equipment and she's jumped over the fence and she's now snuggling up to the horse. Like my whole thing that I stressed about was so natural to her. She lives, when I come home smelling like horse, it's just so natural to her. She just loves it. And all she wanted to be was next to Romeo.
It was like really, really like cool and funny how like their relationship was just like, they were just bonding. And like, I mean, I was a little bit nervous that like, the horse was going to kick her, but I mean, still they were fine with each other. It was awesome.
So best friends. And I will say, I think she has a little crush on Romeo.
Pyrenees are like, I always joke that my Pyrenees are like, Poppy, we've been around for thousands of years without people. So just let us loose, let us go do what we do, and we'll be fine without you. Just put the food bowl, make sure there's plenty of food and treats. Just take care of that, and then everything is good. Because there is so much epigenetics and instinct inside the Pyrenees, thousands and thousands of years. It's a wonderful story. So, Owen, do you ride your horse, your Icelandic?
Oh yeah.
So do you do Western, dressage, English? What are you kind of riding?
So I usually live in England in the summers. So when I'm in England, I ride English.
But not on your horse.
But not on my personal horse. I ride Western on my personal horse.
On your personal horse, Western.
All right, you got a little both flavors. Wow, that's incredible. You said something earlier, Rhonda, I wanted to get back to about pecking order in the Pyrenees. There is resource guarding, but there is a pecking order in your family. And I find that to be fascinating and also very true, is that one thing that I don't think Pyrenees, even dogs are given credit enough, is that they're smart enough, and maybe it is more so on livestock guarding dogs, that they typically are accustomed to being in an environment with many animals. And at times many other Pyrenees, and they just realize they have to get along. They have to establish some type of working order from them to get along and keep the peace. And what's interesting is what our Jan Dorer, our guest on we had the other day, she said that you put Pyrenees on a farm, and over time they'll all just individually pick out the job they do. Like one Pyrenees will go, oh, I'll just go over here with the baby lambs, that's my job. And the other Pyrenees like chickens, that's my thing. And it's just so fascinating that, and I think that Pyrenees and all dogs aren't credited enough with just how intelligent they are, right?
They're so smart. Luke, I don't know if you remember, or you were about 4 or 5 when you stayed with us and we were looking for dog-friendly restaurants, and we took all four Pyrenees. We took Twinkle and Jackson, mine, and we took Hudson Hudson in Indiana, yours, and we ate outside at I think it was a Mexican restaurant. And I don't know if you remember, something happened. There was a guy, like a lawn person with a blower or someone getting in their car. All four of our dogs, it was like the first or second day they met, jump up. Each one is facing a different direction because now we're their flock. It's like Luke and me and Owen. Didn't matter. I don't remember if you were there, Ginger.
No, I
No,
wasn't.
Trish was.
Trish was there.
Trish was there. And we were now their flock. And even though these dogs had just met, there wasn't a word or a bark between them. They all got up, faced a different direction, and started barking to protect their little flock. And that was one of the first times that it really hit me. Like, wow, they've never even met these dogs before, and they just know what to do. They don't need us. They don't need teaching them silly stuff. Their livestock guardians don't need that. They know what to do.
That's right. So tell me, this is, I guess, a tougher part of the conversation. And I apologize for turning it to a more sad note, but I'm curious because, as you know, all three of my Pyrenees that have died from cancer. So you've also had Pyrenees that have been touched by cancer. Which Pyrenees, which of your kids, and what types of cancers have you been through?
So Ace, he was our second Pyrenees. He was male, and it was before he was 5 years old. We were shocked. It was osteosarcoma, and it was in his wrist, in his front paw, and all of a sudden it just blew up the size of a baseball one night. And we called the vet. We took him in, and then it was the size of a softball. And at that point, there wasn't, that this whole dog cancer thing is I had never heard of it. I had big dogs growing up. I had, Great Danes, Rottweilers, Doberman Pinschers. They all died of natural causes. Usually they were so big, their heart would give out. My dad would bury them in the backyard. We never took a dog to the vet. So it was my first, rabies shots and that stuff. Yes. But we never took a dog to a vet for an illness or end of life. They just usually passed natural. My dad buried them in the backyard. They didn't have fancy things you could do in those days. That was how you handled it. And so the first one that had cancer, I was shocked. I was, completely thrown off. I didn't know dogs could get cancer. You were about 2, so I guess it was about 12 or so years ago. And it ended up in an amputation and chemo, and just shocking. I didn't know, what to do. And at that time, there was only really one veterinary oncologist. Las Vegas is a lot smaller than you think it would be for that sort of thing. And I wasn't given a lot of options, and I was really pushed hard to hurry up and do something. I didn't have time to think about it. Was either amputate or put him down now because he's in pain and this is going to happen really fast. I'm like, what do you mean really fast? I've only known for one day. So I think I called you, Luke, and it was just, and I called, what is the lady's name? She's the Pyrenees expert I think her name's Jean Boyd. She's like the most famous AKC breeder. I didn't know her. She was an author. I randomly called her and said, I have no experience with dog cancer. Like, I don't know what to do. They're telling me decide within 1 to 2 days. It's too big of a decision. So they really pushed me to either put him down now or amputate. But we amputated and we did chemo, and it was a very hard road, but he was like a child to me. I had him before I had Owen, and very expensive. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I didn't have dog insurance. I didn't know to have healthcare. Now, of course, all my dogs have healthcare insurance. I didn't know you were supposed to do that. I'd never heard of that. Nobody had that growing up. Didn't know. And like $21,000 expensive. It was insane. And he lasted for not like another, year and a half. That was it. It metastasized. And he was fine on 3 legs.
Yeah. I'm guessing you did the full amputation. I think back then they did the full amputation.
They did the full, and he was a very big dog. He was about 160 pounds before all this happened. Very, very big dog. And we just used to put a t-shirt on him and cut the sleeves off. And he just used to wear a little t-shirt, and I was able to walk him, and,
you're right. It happens fast. And dogs just have a different threshold of pain. That's just part of the natural instinct that's embedded in them. And so at the point of diagnosis, typically the cancer is pretty advanced. And in bone cancer, it may not have metastasized to the lungs, but the chances are that there's some cancer cells in the lungs or in the bloodstream is very, very high. Yours, the wrist blew up and swelled, but I've heard some Pyrenees tell me stories, or actually not just Pyrenees, but some people that have had bigger dogs that have had bone cancer that will run and be able to run until the bone just snaps, it spongifies. And so, at that point, it's incredibly advanced. So you don't have time to act. You've got to act very quickly. And so, but a year and a half back then was probably a pretty good prognosis. Malcolm's was about the same. We didn't make it quite to 2 years, but the same amputation chemo certainly did give him a better quality of life. Did you say one of your other Pyrenees had cancers as well?
Yeah, so his sister, because he was brother and sister, but he was from a different litter than Twinkle. He was 2 years younger than her. So Twinkle lived to 13. She was a tough old hag at the end. I mean, but she is my heart dog. She is my first Pyrenees. She's the one I'm writing a children's book about. She is just the love of my life. She ended up I found blood on the floor one day and I thought she stepped on a nail. I didn't know what happened. And she had some kind of a growth that had burst and it ended up being a tumor. Then she had it in her mouth. And then I think she had it in her stomach. She had around three kinds of cancer. And the one on the mouth, there wasn't enough lip and they couldn't remove it. So they just said, let's try. We were doing chemo for a while. And on her, I didn't like the effect because she just didn't feel good afterwards. And it wasn't her being that really assertive dog and the most personality of any dog I've ever met. It took that away from her. So I asked the doctor, hey, what if we stop? Let's see what happens. And he didn't recommend it, but we stopped. And she lived over another year. She made it to just about 13 with 3 kinds of cancers until I finally put her down and just realized she couldn't get up and down the stair. I had an elevator in my home, so we would take her up the elevator and that sort of thing every night to sleep with me. But when her quality of life was getting to the point she couldn't bark anymore, we just, we had to put an end to it. She was really slowing down. And sometimes she looked at me confused, like she didn't know it was me. But I will say that last year with no chemo, she did much better than she did on the chemo. It just made her feel really bad. With her, she was Ace's sister from a different litter. What happened was when he died, I was just so shocked. I was calling you, I was calling dog breeders, strangers. Looking for every, research. I talked to the Van Andel Institute. Van Andel Institute. And I ended up giving some of his DNA so they could do research. Well, because I had his sister, they wanted hers. And this was, she wasn't sick at that point. They ended up writing to me and giving me a very nice letter. And they said what I had done, because they were able to compare one with cancer to one without cancer that were related. And the scientist ended up calling me and they gave me a really nice letter too. And they told me, you helped. Do children get osteosarcoma? And it's very, close with what the dogs get. And I was just like, okay, so then, because I kept searching for a reason, why would my dog get cancer before 5? Like, this just isn't fair. Come on, God, like, why are you letting me down, taking away my child? Then I started to understand when the scientist gave me a personal call and said, you helped us make a breakthrough. I was shocked.
The point I want to get to first is that osteosarcoma is the exact same beast in kids and canines. It looks the same, it acts the same in 90% of all cases. It spreads to the lungs. The similar bone structures are affected the most. And interestingly enough, I'm not sure if you know this, I'm pretty sure almost all of the clinical trials in bone cancer drugs and research are done on the canine model because we don't experiment with kids. So as, so say for example, St. Jude's, the studies that they fund are canine cancer, canine osteosarc studies. So the fact that dogs are getting the same types of cancer that people get, it's important for people to know that. You know, it's how, Owen, let me ask you, I'm not going to say it's a good thing, but I think it's important that you at your age have gone through cancer in dogs. So how has that affected you and your relationship with your fuzzy buds?
Well, I'd say that like because like a good amount of ours have had it, it almost gives me a more personal connection with them because I'm like, you know what, like I need to enjoy every single moment. And it's not like I wasn't doing it before, but it gave me a more bigger perspective on it. And I just want to spend every single moment I could with my dogs, making them happy. And even the one that just passed away last year, I don't want to go into big detail, but he did die of heart failure, but they said that he did have cancer, and we didn't know until like after he died. Something happened where like I don't know, like they were trying to take out the fluid, and then they said they hit a tumor, I guess, when they were taking it out, and so like it was hemorrhagey or whatever, so like the fluid was bloody, and then he just passed out, I guess, and died.
Died on the operating table.
But yeah, we didn't even know he had cancer, and you know, it was really sad for me because like, you know, our other dogs died too of cancer. And I remember when we put down Ace, it was the day before my parents were telling me, you know, oh, you know, say your goodbye. Like they didn't really explain to me, and I guess I didn't really understand because I was like 2 or 3, but I have this exact moment, like I remember, or sorry, I'm getting emotional. I remember this exact moment, like where they told me, and I was like, oh yeah, he's gonna go bye-bye, like, and I didn't really understand, but now it's like I'm like, wow, like I really want to help with cancer research, and you know, when I'm even more famous, I want to like endorse, and like I just really want to bring cancer down as we all do, but you know.
Well, let's stick with that because I think you might be pardon me, you might be in a unique opportunity or position to be able to help with that, because when I met you, you were obviously 2, 3. Since then, you've gone on to do martial arts and become very skilled at that. You've also have an acting career, and I think that's important. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to have a conversation, because I've been doing this for 15 years. When I started, my first dog, Malcolm, was diagnosed in 2004. And lost him in 2006. Then I sold my truck, put my stuff in storage in Hudson and Murphy, and I got on the road in 2008. And what I think probably in trying to raise awareness and educate people about cancer and our fuzzy butts, our canine companions, and the similarities between that cancer and cancer in people has been a Sisyphean task. Every single year for the entire 15 years, I feel like I've pushed up boulders and it just comes tumbling down. And one of my biggest complaints, Owen, it's not really complaints, it's just one of the things that saddens me the most is that I've been doing everything I can to get Hollywood to talk more about cancer and our dogs, and more importantly celebrities. And back when 2004, 2006, it actually wasn't until recently you never heard about people losing their dogs to cancer on film, TV, or movies. And that's just a recent thing. That's probably happened in the last 5 or 6 years. So on the one hand, I think, well, okay, we're doing our job. It's finally getting out there. But on the other hand, it just saddens me that Hollywood was, for whatever reason, was unwilling to talk about a very tough, tragic issue, but an important one. And it's also broke my heart. I'm a very sensitive guy. I'm from Texas, so on the surface, tough. Down underneath, I'm a sensitive guy. And it breaks my heart that celebrities, and I know some of the celebrities out there that have had their dogs go through cancer, they've lost their dogs, and they just don't get out there and talk about it. And the only reason, I don't know any of, I know a few of them and some of them in various degrees, but the only reason that I can glean or estimate from that is that because you have cancer in kids and stuff, celebrities fear getting out there talking about cancer in dogs, and then they'll have somebody in the public say, well, I lost a kid to cancer, because I've gotten that too. So I know this is a very long-winded intro into a conversation, Owen, but it's good that Hollywood in to a certain extent is starting to get the picture, get the message. This is important. This is a big part of our life now. If you have a dog, there's probably in certain breeds there's more than a 50% chance your dog's going to get cancer. So we just got to be talking about it more. So I'm hoping, Owen, that your acting career takes off, and that you're able to use your experiences with Yer Pyrenees and go out there and help your colleagues in your profession feel more comfortable about talking about their dogs and pets. So talk about your acting career and your arc and what you're working on, what you're doing.
Well, actually, in what is it, in August, I'm gonna film a new film. I can't really say much about it, but I will tell you it has to do with the hacker. So that's all I can sorry,
It's
all I
funny.
can say for now. It is funny. It's gonna be a comedy.
All right.
And
Yeah, he's
see.
real excited. They've
Right.
done some of the pre-production, and he's lucky to work with a director that he's worked with before, Shane Brady.
shout out to Shane Brady.
Shout out to Shane Brady. And yeah,
Congratulations. That's wonderful.
so
Thank
they'll
you.
start filming officially, I think, in August. But I want to break in here for a minute. So there is a film that Owen did that unfortunately came out during COVID, and it was a Melissa McCarthy film, and Owen was had a small, guest starring part, and Kevin Kline played a vet, and Owen played one of his patients, who had a dog that ended up passing, and they didn't describe, Owens was a guest star part. They didn't describe why the dog died, but it's pretty clear that the dog had cancer.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the first movie that I really remember in recent times where they and different people had different problems, and that's not what the film was about. It was more about Melissa McCarthy's
Dealing with
character
her.
and
Yeah.
dealing with some personal loss that she had. But Kevin Kline as a vet was great. Owen working on this film with Kevin Kline, and having animals on set. Owen loves working with animals on set because they're with the SAG rules. They're so careful and they're always treated so well. And they needed a kid that had worked with animals before.
Yeah, and I have that on my resume. I have I worked with big dogs. But in the film I actually got to, hold a dog. I got to bring it to the vet.
It was nice.
And then at the end I got a new dog to I guess
Yeah.
not replace, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's
get the
really
six out of
clear
five.
that that's what happened to the dog. And
Yeah.
some of his scenes as a guest star did get cut out because once COVID happened, they ended up selling the film to Netflix because there weren't any theatrical releases.
Yeah.
It was directed by Ted Melfi. He did Hidden Figures, which is
Well, I like Melissa McCarthy. That's the comedian. She's the comedian.
yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Awfully
she's
good.
awesome.
Boy, she's very, very
Fabulous, awesome lady, and
And
Yeah,
also
very-
really nice. Really
Yeah.
nice in person.
all animals, and there were
She-
cats and birds. There were all kinds of animals on set, all treated very well, trainers. But Owen was really honored to be in that film because it had a little taste. It didn't go into a great detail, but it did have a little taste of that's what happening. And the boy did lose his dog at that.
Well, let me ask you a question, Owen. Was it scripted originally that way, that the dog had cancer, and then made the shooting script, then changed it or something? They decided, well, let's just take this out. It's not necessarily relevant to the plot. So let's just say the dog is just passing. Was it written that way originally, cancer, and they changed it?
What did they say? Did they say cancer or illness?
So I truly don't know whether they took it out or what they did exactly because I got the script and I think it was already past a few revisions. I didn't get to see the first copy of it, but it said some words that I think could have
It led you
that
to
it was
believe that
cancer,
that's
yeah.
what happened.
And I don't
Mhm.
necessarily know if they took it away because if you watch the movie and the scene, the couple scenes that Kevin Kline is actually talking about that they're gonna have to put down my dog, or that's the best way for me to help my dog. Actually, you can tell that they're talking about cancer. And
Yeah,
I don't think
it's implied.
yeah, and I think I don't necessarily think they silenced it. I think they did a good job
Yeah.
carrying it out, and I'm glad that they're starting to, I guess, talk more about cancer, like you're saying, in dogs. And I'm gonna try my best to spread the word.
Well, I'm gonna hold you to that, Owen, and I might actually try to help you. I'm actually almost finished with the screenplay myself, and it has a dog with. It's actually a suspense horror movie, and I got the idea when I walked through when I was up in the Adirondacks, and I stayed at a vet clinic up there, and I was like. I asked Ginger's like, how old is Owen now? I don't know if I have a character that's his age, but maybe I can find it. And I can make up a character. So, but because we all need to work on that, and I'm a critical guy in the sense that I try to understand problems and find solutions. And so I applaud that celebrities are talking about it more, movies and TV shows are talking about it more and more now. But it is something that we need would be great to have front and center. And so the way I see it is, look, I'll just write my own movie and make it a big part of the plot, and then hopefully we get this thing shot and get it out there, and it will be a good film. So what do you find, Owen, that did that help you in that part, in that role, having gone through having a dog that passed from cancer as well, going through that illness? Did it help prepare you for that role?
Oh, 100%. Like as soon as I knew that I was gonna have like a real dog on the set and I was gonna be holding it, I was like, okay, like I'm gonna prepare for this by, finding photos of my past dogs. And when I was actually holding it, right before they said action, I was thinking, thinking about Twinkle, Ace, Jackson, just all my dogs, and I'm thinking, like I pulled from the memories, I pulled that sadness, and that's what, helped me with my tears. They were real. Like it's not like I'm like, oh, let me open my eyes and try and like, oh, let me wave them to get tears. Like it was genuine tears um from those experiences I had. Even in a movie I did last year or something like that, around a year, maybe and a half ago, Breathing Happy. There's this funeral scene, and one of the memories I pulled from was putting my dog Twinkle down because of cancer, and I used that as part of the sadness that I had in the role. I did pull some other things too, like my grandpa passing, but that was really mainly one of them was Twinkle being put down because of cancer. So I really do try and take from those memories and put them into my roles. So yeah, it's a really, honestly, a big part of my career. It's those memories are actually helping me. So
That's wonderful. How many films have you been in now? You're prolific. You were in a popular one I saw. Is it Little Evil? Is that the movie?
yeah.
Yeah, that was a blockbuster movie, right? That's a big
Yeah,
ticket.
that was a good one. Sally Field was in that
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and she played a bad guy, so that was super fun to see her. And Owen played a bad guy, but
Oh yeah.
you'll like the ending. Yeah, he's been in a handful of feature films and a bunch of shorts and some television episodes.
I
And
just went onto my
yeah.
IMDb the other day, but if you just like look my name up on like Google, Safari, whatever engine you use, I think I don't know, probably like 20
Yeah,
something
you've
like
done a
that.
handful.
Yeah.
How are you liking being a working actor? Do you like the business? Is it something that you see yourself being doing professionally for the remainder of your life?
100%. I love it very much. I love the industry itself. I'm hoping, or no, I'm going to go to college. Definitely, I'm looking at, a few different ones, Chapman, USC. Hopefully soon we can maybe like go to the campus and check it out.
Yeah, he's
Um,
interested in USC Film
But yeah,
School, so we
USC would
need
definitely
to do a tour.
be lovely.
What grade do they call them grades anymore? Where are you at in high school?
Well, right now I'm in 8th grade. And there's a lot of like extracurricular activities for like acting. I just did it was like a performing arts class. We would like watch a movie and then take notes on it. So I'm also learning about acting in school, which is helping me a lot. And then, acting classes out of school too. So
That's wonderful. I realized early on, fortunately, I could never be an actor, because if I was in that situation and I was thinking about Malcolm, I would cry and I could probably never shut it off. But I've always been fascinated with, well, as a writer and a creator, I've always been fascinated with the ability to take a story and then put it on, write it down, and then to see it become an actual movie. It's quite an experience, right?
right. It really is. I mean, especially when you see like the movie as like your baby, almost like you see like your dog, like your fuzzy butts. It's like you see it, and then like there's, I don't know, a synopsis or like a storyline, and then you see it become like a whole movie, and then you're like, wow, like this just went from nothing or like a little like few notes to like a full length movie or TV show, whatever. And it's amazing how like the process goes, and it's a wonderful experience as well.
Yeah, it's crazy because, when you shoot a film, and people probably don't know this, you don't shoot in order. So when the actor gets the script, you get the script and you're reading the script, but the script has all the stage notes too. Like this is happening and this is an interior shot and this is this and this is that kind of, and it's really hard. It's not like reading a book at all.
Yeah.
It's just not. So like even the first time, like when we saw Little Evil, you totally shot everything out of order. So in your mind, you're trying to put it in order, but then and then of course you haven't seen the editing. So when you actually, as an actor, get to see the film, it's usually when it's all done. Because once the actors are done shooting, they're done. They do
Yep.
bring them in for ADR, which is vocal stuff that they need to
Oh, yeah.
fix in the film or add something like
Unbelievable.
that. Yeah, but usually if the screening is the first, I mean, unless you're Johnny Depp or something, but usually if the screen, which I heard he doesn't watch his films.
Yeah.
But that's usually the first time you see it. So it's a surprise to you too. And then you kind of, oh, this is how, because for me, I'm always on set with him and it's kind of like, oh, this is how everything fits into place. Even though you have that
Yeah.
script, it's different once you actually see it and completely shot out of order. They could do that. It's just all budget, time,
Right.
location. All these shots need to be done here and these need to be done here. So nothing's in order. So as you're shooting, like Little Evil was, I don't know, 2 months, I think,
Oh, yeah, about
2.5
2
months.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're not in order at all. So you really don't have any idea.
Yeah, I'm having to be the producer on this. I'll bring on a co-producer, obviously, that has experience in the business because I don't have experience with a lot of things like access to casting and so many things that are critical to the success of a movie. But as I'm writing it and wrote the screenplay. Actually, the screenplay is more of the screenplay, also a shooting script as well, because I have to think about those financial decisions, right? If we have a 4-week window to shoot, 2 months, that's a big budget movie.
That's a big budget.
I'll probably only be able to afford maybe a 4-week shooting window.
Yeah, and when you look at the SAG, the different budget, like you could do a SAG ultra low budget, 2 to 4 weeks is
Right.
a little more
So you
budget.
have 4 weeks to get in whatever it is, 120 scenes, and it's all about how quickly, efficiently, and cost effectively can I do it. It comes down to the nuts and bolts of production. So do you have, Owen, you're obviously a very talented actor. You're comfortable on the screen. You're handsome fellow, and you got a natural way about yourself. And but do you have an interest in the technical side at all? Are you learning the technical aspects of filmmaking?
Oh yeah, I am. Usually in a lot of my acting classes, like we go over like even behind the camera. But I am starting to write a script, actually a few, but
Good for you.
there's one about my great grandpa who was a World War II veteran. He fought against the Nazis. He was a Marine. How old was he, like when he was in Wales? Like,
Well, this
15
is
or
my
something?
grandpa, and believe it or not, he's still with us. I'm probably one of the oldest people alive that has 2 grandparents. We won't say how old Nana turned out.
Because we don't edit this show, so I can't
Let's
take it out.
just say we're all counting, me and my cousins, 100, and Nana is saying 98 or something. And my grandpa is a year or 2 younger than her, but let's just say they're both very close to the 100. He was a merchant marine in World War II. He was in England, and Wales is where my family's from. He was in Wales, and things were just very different. All the men in his village were gone, for example, and they told him, I don't know what they call him, like a fire sergeant or something.
Yeah.
They gave him a helmet and a rifle and said, your job at 13 or whatever it was is to make sure everyone's lights are out, candles are out, curtains are closed, because the Germans would bomb at nighttime.
And if they
And
saw
that's-
light, then
If they saw light, that's how they knew there was a residence or a hospital or whatever they could burn. So he would knock on people's door and make them, put their candles out, turn off their lights or whatever. And the other thing he would do is when they did bomb, he would put out those fires. And he lied about his age often and tried to get into the armed forces and tried and tried and tried. Eventually, because he technically was born in Texas, because his dad was serving, so he was a US citizen and a British citizen, he finally got into the Merchant Marine at around 17.
At
Yeah.
17 years old, he got in. And then I don't know what to call him, like a general, like he saw the ID, it was obviously scratched out. He's like, oh, fake ID. Okay. Well, you're in. Because
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like they were like, they had
They needed people that
I mean,
point.
yeah,
The war
they
had
do
been
need that.
going on for a while. And so, yeah, my grandpa was a merchant marine who crossed enemy lines 7 times, which that was brought up just recently when he was in Las Vegas and he was mugged at the Golden Nugget. And rather than letting the younger, stronger guy get a wallet, my grandfather socked the guy.
Wow.
And the police got involved and had to tell him, sir, you know, you could have been hurt. This is very dangerous. Next time, just let us know. And he pretty much put the policeman in his place and said, I fought the Nazis. I crossed enemy lines 7 times. You think this thug is getting my wallet? No. And we told him, you know, Dad, you could have been really hurt, but he wasn't having it.
Yeah, we just talked about it. I think
So Owen's been
yeah.
writing a script about him, and we video record him as often as we can because he is getting older. He's had multiple strokes, and he is British. He likes his beer.
Well, that's a heck of a story to take on for a young lad like yourself. Usually you would be like the what is it? Not maybe like the Coen brothers, although the Coen brothers took on some pretty intense topic
That's
matters.
true.
I think Blood Simple was their first movie, and that was tough subject matter. But World War II and such a phenomenal career, that's a heavy subject matter, heavy topic to take on for a young writer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying.
Yeah.
I have the experience. For the most part of the time, I mean, I am a little bit busy, but I'm putting my work in. So
Well,
there's no rush. He's starting to write it now, and we're feeling that pressure of doing it before my grandpa passes. But we're getting live footage and video, and we've told him about the film. So no matter what, we'll dedicate it to him and put some cameos of him because we want to do it right and not rush it. Maybe it'll be your film school project. Who knows? But
being on the creative side, I think acting and being on the cast side is one thing, and they perform an incredibly difficult skill that I couldn't do. Lots of people can't do, and the better the actor, obviously, the fewer people can perform a role like that. But there's the cast, but then there's a creative side, and to me that's more important. That's being on the creative side is the genesis of an idea. To have an idea is such a wonderful thing, and to take that idea from paper and to the screen, it requires so many things. And so stick with writing, even if this project doesn't go anywhere. You might be published before I am, for God's sakes. Well, who knows? But I'm picking my time, and I think that the screenplay, this little movie, is a good first project for me. But it's important to be a writer, and I certainly think this in the world of AI, where AI is getting spooky good. I'm now wondering if actors are going to have a job, and any actors. Well, I mean, yeah. Obviously, of course, you have the skill. There'll always be a need for people in roles like that. But AI is certainly going to change the business, and not just for acting, also the creative side. I certainly feel like a lot of the what you might call the B or C level screenwriters and creators, those guys are just going to be replaced by AI. So the industry is going to change, don't you think, a lot in a few years?
I mean, I just the other day I heard this song. It's called like Heart on My Sleeve. And everybody thought, oh my gosh, Drake, like somebody just like released one of Drake's songs without him knowing. It was completely AI made by this guy named Ghostwriter. His like actual name is Ghostwriter. He just typed in a few lyrics, and then it created the rest of the lyrics, it created the beat, took Drake's voice, made this song. And I'm telling you, this song sounds exactly like Drake. Like you wouldn't believe it. It's amazing. And the fact that like AI can do that now, they just need like little snippets of people's voice. And there's also like bad things that's going on with AI where like if you post on the internet anything with your voice, they could just take it. And I just saw a video the other day, this guy on TikTok, he someone called his family, and then it was just a horrible story. It's like, help me, I'm being held for ransom, send money to this account, with blah blah blah, with his voice. And then I guess they had this code word in their family, or like some sort of like thing, so they knew it wasn't him. And then like he called them right around the same time. So it was crazy story. But yeah, I mean, AI will definitely change the industry. I don't know in a good or bad way, but hopefully people are going to try and take it down a notch with AI. I mean, it is being used for a lot of good things, like I don't know, but
Well,
you know.
I plan on, I'm getting I have an episode in the works entirely about AI, and mostly about how AI is going to impact veterinary medicine, because it's going to have a tremendous impact on that. I'm not sure if you saw the article about, I think it was a person in New York. His dog was critically ill. He took it to their vet. The vet said, I don't know what it's this, whatever this was, and your dog is going to die. So let's go ahead and euthanize it now. And the guy said, no, I'm not going to do that. And went on I guess it was Chat GPT or GPT-4, which is the latest version of it. And not only put in the symptoms, but also I think the blood work. And they came up with a very obscure disease, which the dog ended up having a very obscure disease. So its potential in medicine, veterinary medicine, is phenomenal. But you're right, it's going to change the landscape in so many different ways, and I'm not sure people are prepared for it. And in your business, I've been reading about actors now that are licensing themselves out, their images, voice, out to AI, to companies that want to be able to use it and then make that do whatever they want, which is scary, because Owen, if you did that, I could take Owen and make him do anything now.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like also deep fakes are getting like even more better. So like when you get the AI voice and just AI generated deep fakes, it's like there's zero difference at all. And I mean, AI also a good thing. I mean, I don't know if it's good, but it passed like this medical exam test that like normally I don't know exactly what it's called. I'm not too
The MCATs?
I don't know. It's like when you're about to become like a doctor, like this.
MCATs, I
Is
think,
that
to go
it?
into
It
medical
passed it.
school.
And like I don't know, it's just getting better and better. But for a lot of diseases and all that, it's really good for research and
And diagnostics too.
and
Yeah.
diagnostics. Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing and a bad thing, depending on what you use it for.
Yeah, I personally think it's going to be the end of the human race, the human species, because when you have here's how I frame it. I follow the top AI scientists on Twitter and engage in a little bit of discourse with them. And there are two camps right now: the ones that are trying to profit from AI and they've got their pom poms out and go AI, and then the other scientists that see, hey, at some point, AI is going to be 100,000 times smarter and faster than us. And here's the basic question you need to ask yourself: would you ever work for somebody? If you're 100,000 times smarter than your boss, would you ever work for that person? The answer is no, you'd never. So AI is not going to take orders from people. It's going to be the opposite. And I know down in Texas, a whole lot of folks that just aren't going to be taking orders from AI. And I envision a scenario similar to the Terminator, which or something like that. I find it very fascinating, and it's happening so fast. But you're right that talented, gifted actors and creators aren't going to be going anywhere for some time. Well, we've had so much to talk about, and I love movies, and I'm if you're interested, I'll share this project with you. At least the screenplay.
Yeah.
See what you think about it. Just see if you like it or not. I'm pretty excited about it. But I could talk to you about film for hours. But is there anything else that Ginger, do I leave anything out, or is there anything else you want to talk to about pet parents, to our audience, about your experiences?
Well, one of the things that I wanted to go back to something that Owen had said about, the TikTok and the AI voice, but that family had a code. And it's not necessarily for pet parents, and I don't have children, but I think every family should have some type of code so that they know now, because it's just scary to pick up your phone and it could be somebody that sounds like my sister or my niece. And I'm gonna fall for it. I'm gonna, if we don't have a code, or they can't answer a particular question or something, it's It's scary. It's really scary. And sometimes I'm really glad I didn't have children because it would just scare me to death. I mean,
Yeah, it's a crazy, scary new world out there. And my take on it is like, look, the robots can take over, that's fine, just so long as they keep our fuzzy butts around. So they can get rid of the human species. I think the human race our species has had its chance. I think we've had a long history of screwing things up. We're not really that efficient. There's some great things about us, but if they're gonna take over, the AI robots are gonna take over. Just keep the fuzzy butts around, because for goodness sakes, they're the best part of us, aren't they? Our companions in life are the best part of us, right?
Absolutely.
exactly.
Hopefully the Terminator will have like a little soft spot for the dogs.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I don't think I got the name of the Pyrenees that you adopted out in California. What was his name?
His name was Zeus.
Zeus. Oh, that's right, Zeus. I like you guys are Zeus. Zeus is such a common name with Pyrenees, the big, giant, godlike names. How big is Zeus? How old?
He's like 15 months.
Yeah, he
or
hasn't
16.
received his full size yet.
Yeah.
I'd say he's like 100
Wow.
at top,
Wow,
maybe
15.
90 to 100. He's not filled out yet. You know, with Pyrenees, it takes 2 years physically, I feel like, for them to fill out, and I think about 3 years mentally before they stop being a puppy. I feel like they're puppies longer than, that baby period with a Pyrenees can be very trying. I even started telling myself, well, when Star goes, I think I'm gonna adopt one that's 1.5 to 2 years old. I don't know if I can do the puppy, the Pyrenees puppy again. I love them. They're cute. They're the cutest puppies I've ever seen, but that puppy face is long.
It's hard to resist the Pyrenees face, but I like what you say. Unfortunately, my Pyrenees are still in the mental state. They never grew up mentally. At least Indiana, he's still a kid at heart. He turns 12 this year, and I hope
Oh my gosh!
Indiana turns 10.
Baby to me.
I mean 12. Yeah, 12 this year.
Yeah, 12.
this year. And I hope you guys have a chance to see him again. Ginger said you were in Memphis recently and you're considering moving here. What's up moving this area? What's up with that?
We just fell in love with Memphis. The people we felt were so kind, and the forests were so beautiful, and the landscape, and we just had the best time ever. And of course, house prices. We've got all of California moving here to Vegas. And
Are you still in Vegas right now? Las Vegas?
Still in Vegas, yeah. We
Right.
live in California a couple times a year for the acting, and then England in the summer. But we are seriously considering Memphis. We really enjoyed it.
There's not much of a film business here, and there is a lot of truth that if you want to be in the business, LA is still the place. I was in Austin, and everybody was excited about the film industry coming to Austin when Sandra Bullock moved there and Matthew McConaughey, and they're still waiting for the film business to come to Austin.
Yeah, everyone says that about every new hotspot, but it's
Exactly.
agents and the managers and the
Right.
they're in LA, but it's an easy visit for us. We're
Well, I'm sorry that we didn't have a chance to see you guys when you were here. And Ginger also tells me that you have a new addition to your family. Is that right?
We do. Owen finally has a sister. She'll be turning 1 in 2 weeks.
Mazel
Wow.
tov. Mazel tov for that.
Thank you.
What's her name?
Her name's Mayfair.
Mayfair. I love it. Well, you have such a wonderful family, and clearly you guys are Pyrenees, a Pyrenees family. Because I've known and I've cared about you. We've been friends for a long time, and it was great to catch up again. Owen will continue to follow your career. I'm not going to let you go because I'm going to keep hitting you up. Hey, are you talking? Every time I hear your pre-production on a new film, hey, you talking to the director about and the writer how to get a film in there, a scene in there about dogs and cancer? I'll continue to hit you up and irritate you. So,
Well, this
And
next
Luke
director
can be irritating.
Yeah, no, the next director that he's working with really loves animals, and his last film, Breathing Happy, Owen was a part of, and there was a dog in there, and it did talk about his personal experience with one of his dogs being ill, and his brother is a real life veterinarian, so his brother did a real life did an appearance on this film. You can find Breathing Happy on Fandor, Fandor, and on Amazon.
okay.
his brother is a Florida vet, and he does make an appearance there. And yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go on IMDb. What was the Melissa McCarthy movie? What was that? The name of that?
It's called The Starling.
The Starling. I'm gonna check that one out as well because it sounds like a powerful scene, and I want to see your performance because I can only imagine it's quite good. Well, continue to do great, Owen. Congratulations on your burgeoning career. I hope it skyrockets from here. And Rhonda, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Ginger, I think we're at that time of the show to Owen, do you have an Instagram? We usually do social media and contact info because we're usually talking to like companies, CEOs and stuff like that. But do you have an Instagram where people can follow your career?
I do, yes. It's Owen.Atlas.
Owen.Atlas. I dig it, man. It's a great, I gotta say, it's a great name, Owen Atlas. I just love the name Atlas anyway. I've got this art piece I'm working. I'm into NFTs now, so it's called Atlas Shrugged, and it's the Atlas robot because AI is taking over. All right, Ginger. So did I leave anything out this time? I know I screw things up every single time I have one of these shows, but did I do that bad?
No, I think you did great.
Oh,
I think you were fabulous.
all
got
right.
the thumb of approval from Ginger, so that means it's official.
Oh yeah, I live for the approval of my co-producer. That's what I look for. All right, guys. Thank you so much to the Atlas family. Say, how is your husband? I'm sorry, I forgot his name. How was Dad? How's Mr. Atlas?
How's your dad, Rob?
He's doing good. Yeah, he's doing good.
Do you guys still have the medical device what is he doing? What's his business now?
We sold the medical software company, and now he's starting a company, an elder care company, which is taking care of mom and dad. Basically, we've got so many more people that are living longer, and we've got the people my age becoming caretakers, and it's everything for mom and dad. It's the official name is Elder Key now.
Yeah, if you
Elder
guys want to
Key.
check
Elder
it out.
what?
Elder Key.
Go ahead, yeah.
Elder Key.
Like
Okay.
key.
All right, guys, if you have, I know I just lost my mom to Alzheimer's and I went through that, although my dad ended up taking care of her throughout her entire illness against the wishes of his son because it took a lot out of him physically. So I know the importance of elder care, and it's going to be an increasingly important business. So Elder Key.
It's going to be a software. You know, there's so many pieces. There's the care, the end of life care. There's the quality of life. There's getting all the financial stuff and powers of attorney in line, medicines, diagnostic. There's just a lot of pieces to manage, as you must know with your dad when you're the caretaker for an elder person, you know, especially that's ill to the end. There's just a lot. So that's
speaking of elder care, have you guys ever seen a great movie called I Care a Lot with Peter Dinklage?
I have not seen it.
You guys got to check it out. It's a good one, and it's kind of along the same lines. You know, I have to stop here, Ginger, because I can talk about movies and films all for hours and hours. All right, that's it for this episode. Thank you guys for being a part of this episode. We drop every Tuesday on at our YouTube channel, which is fuzzybutstudios.com, and you can also find the podcast on Spotify or iHeartRadio. All right, everybody, thank you to Owen and Rhonda Atlas, and as always, thank you to Ginger Morgan. We'll see you next time. Pop you up. Talk soon.
See ya.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, guys.
Good to catch up.